When pricing electrical rewiring per opening, there are several factors to consider. Firstly, the type of building. Different types of buildings have varying wiring complexity. For example, a single-family home may have a simpler electrical system than a multi-unit dwelling. Secondly, the number of stories. Taller buildings require more wiring, which will increase the overall cost. Thirdly, the age of the building. Older buildings often have more complex wiring systems that may require more time and effort to rewire. Fourthly, the level of damage. Fire damage can significantly impact the extent of the rewire needed, as damaged wiring may need to be replaced or repaired. Materials and labor costs are also a crucial factor. These costs can fluctuate depending on your location and the availability of materials and skilled labor. Industry benchmarks provide a general guideline for pricing. Ballpark pricing for rewiring a residential unit typically ranges from $50 to $100 per opening. However, it is important to note that this is just a starting point and can vary significantly based on the factors mentioned earlier. Your experience and expertise in rewiring jobs should also be factored into your pricing. If you have specialized knowledge or have done similar jobs in the past, you may be able to justify a higher rate. Consider your business overhead expenses, such as insurance, utilities, and equipment, when determining your pricing. These costs should be factored into your overall estimate to ensure that you are making a profit. It is common for clients to negotiate prices. Be prepared to explain your pricing and provide reasons why your estimate is reasonable. You can also offer discounts for larger jobs or multiple units. Now, let's break down some of these factors in more detail. The type of building significantly influences the complexity of the wiring. For instance, commercial buildings often require more complex wiring systems than residential buildings due to higher power demands and specialized equipment. Understanding the building type will allow you to accurately assess the scope of work involved. The number of stories in a building directly impacts the amount of wiring needed. Taller buildings require longer runs of wire, which translates to higher material costs and increased labor time. When estimating the cost per opening, factor in the additional wiring required for each story. Older buildings often present unique challenges due to outdated wiring systems and potential code violations. Rewiring older buildings may require more time and expertise to address these issues. Be sure to assess the condition of the existing wiring and factor in any necessary upgrades or repairs. Fire damage can significantly increase the complexity and cost of a rewiring project. Damaged wiring may need to be replaced entirely, and structural repairs may be necessary before rewiring can begin. Assess the extent of the fire damage and factor in the additional costs associated with cleanup, repairs, and material replacement. Materials and labor costs are essential considerations when pricing any electrical project. Material costs can vary depending on the type of wiring, conduit, and other components used. Labor costs will depend on the prevailing wage rates in your area and the skill level of your electricians. Stay up to date on current market prices and labor rates to ensure that your estimates are accurate and competitive. Industry benchmarks can provide a helpful starting point for pricing rewiring projects. These benchmarks are typically based on average costs for similar projects in your area. However, it is important to remember that these are just averages and may not accurately reflect the specific circumstances of your project. Use industry benchmarks as a guideline, but always tailor your pricing to the unique requirements of each job. Your experience and expertise as an electrician are valuable assets that should be factored into your pricing. If you have a proven track record of completing rewiring projects efficiently and effectively, you may be able to justify a higher rate than less experienced contractors. Highlight your qualifications and experience when presenting your estimates to clients. Don't forget to consider your business overhead expenses when determining your pricing. These expenses include insurance, utilities, vehicle maintenance, and other costs associated with running your business. Calculate your overhead costs accurately and factor them into your hourly rate or project pricing to ensure that you are covering all of your expenses and making a profit. Negotiation is a common part of the bidding process, so be prepared to discuss your pricing with clients. Be transparent about your costs and explain the value that you bring to the project. Be willing to compromise, but also stand your ground if you believe that your pricing is fair and reasonable. Offering discounts for larger jobs or multiple units can be an effective way to win more business. Consider offering a percentage discount or a fixed dollar amount discount for clients who commit to larger projects. This can incentivize clients to choose you over your competitors and increase your overall revenue. To effectively price a rewiring project per opening, first understand the scope. Secondly, evaluate the complexity. Thirdly, calculate material costs. Fourthly, estimate labor time. Fifthly, factor in overhead. Sixthly, consider profit margin. Seventhly, research market rates. Eighthly, prepare a detailed proposal. Ninthly, be prepared to negotiate. And tenthly, document everything. First, understand the scope of the project. Before you can accurately price a rewiring job per opening, you need to have a clear understanding of the scope of the project. This includes the size of the building, the number of openings, the type of wiring required, and any special considerations. Schedule a site visit to assess the project firsthand and gather all the necessary information. Secondly, evaluate the complexity of the wiring. The complexity of the wiring will significantly impact the amount of time and effort required to complete the job. Consider factors such as the age of the building, the presence of existing wiring, and the level of damage. More complex wiring will require more time and expertise, which will translate to higher costs. Thirdly, calculate material costs. Material costs are a significant component of any rewiring project. Create a detailed list of all the materials required, including wiring, conduit, outlets, switches, and other components. Obtain quotes from multiple suppliers to ensure that you are getting the best possible prices. Factor in any potential price fluctuations and add a buffer to account for unexpected material needs. Fourthly, estimate labor time. Estimating labor time accurately is crucial for pricing a rewiring project per opening. Consider the amount of time required for each step of the process, including removing old wiring, installing new wiring, connecting outlets and switches, and testing the system. Factor in the skill level of your electricians and their hourly rates. Be realistic in your estimates and avoid underestimating the amount of time required. Fifthly, factor in overhead. Overhead costs include all the expenses associated with running your business, such as insurance, utilities, vehicle maintenance, and office supplies. Calculate your overhead costs accurately and allocate them to each project based on the amount of time and resources required. Failing to factor in overhead costs can lead to inaccurate pricing and reduced profitability. Sixthly, consider profit margin. Your profit margin is the percentage of revenue that you retain after covering all costs. Determine your desired profit margin and factor it into your pricing. A reasonable profit margin will allow you to invest in your business, grow your team, and provide a return on your investment. Seventhly, research market rates. Researching market rates for rewiring projects in your area will help you determine a competitive price per opening. Contact other electricians and contractors to gather information on their pricing strategies. Use online resources and industry publications to stay informed about current market trends. Eighthly, prepare a detailed proposal. Once you have gathered all the necessary information and calculated your costs, prepare a detailed proposal for the client. Your proposal should include a clear breakdown of the scope of work, the materials to be used, the estimated labor time, and the total cost per opening. Be transparent about your pricing and explain the value that you bring to the project. Ninthly, be prepared to negotiate. Negotiation is a common part of the bidding process, so be prepared to discuss your pricing with clients. Be willing to explain your costs and the reasons behind your pricing. Be flexible and willing to compromise, but also stand your ground if you believe that your pricing is fair and reasonable. Tenthly, document everything. Keep detailed records of all your estimates, proposals, and contracts. This documentation will protect you in case of disputes or disagreements with clients. It will also provide valuable data for future pricing decisions. Accurately pricing electrical rewiring projects per opening requires a thorough understanding of the factors involved, careful calculation of costs, and effective negotiation skills. By following these steps, you can ensure that your pricing is competitive, profitable, and fair to your clients. In summary, to price effectively, you should first assess the project scope. Secondly, evaluate complexity. Thirdly, calculate material expenses. Fourthly, estimate labor duration. Fifthly, incorporate overhead costs. Sixthly, determine profit margin. Seventhly, research prevailing rates. Eighthly, create a thorough proposal. Ninthly, prepare for negotiation. And tenthly, meticulously document all details.